Welcome to a contemplative talk by the Silent Mystic. It's nice to have you here. As we start to sit together, please find a comfortable position, seated position that feels relaxed and alert, keeping your spine straight if possible. And you can allow your eyes to close as you listen. These words are inspired words coming from the stillness and peace and presence of this moment. And as you connect with the silence and stillness here, you are connecting with these words also. And may they be in alignment with the highest good for all to hear. An interesting thing that comes about on the spiritual path, specifically as it relates to the practice of meditation. If you are a regular practitioner of meditation, you may have noticed this in your experience. And that is that as you sit with yourself in silence, preferably without any technique, just sitting with whatever comes up. This is the simplest technique of all, and it can help with so many practical things in life. To process your emotions as they arise in each day, to be able to let go and forgive different situations and people, to come into the present moment and let go of the different thoughts, feelings, sensations that pass through you during this time of silence. As you let each one pass through without clinging to them as they arise, you are coming more and more into the present moment. And this is where your true self resides. This is the realm of God. God is not somewhere out in the future or somewhere in the past. God is only here and now. That's what it means by the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is here and now. So as you let go of the different things that arise in your mind, you are drawn closer into the presence of this moment, of the now. And this now, this timeless space, has a great power. And as you keep training your mind to let go, keep surrendering whatever is hijacking your awareness, taking away your consciousness into the past or future of some thought or another. As you let go, you are drawn back into that power of this present moment, the power of heaven, the power of now, which is an excellent book, by the way. The now is eternal. The now is timeless. There is no time in the now. As you are drawn into this realm, you notice that your mind becomes absorbed. It's in a kind of absorption with the divine. What was once caught in a kind of frantic back and forth between one thought, one story, one memory, or another, jumping from one branch to another, as they say, it is the monkey mind of the ego. As it surrenders and releases, and this surrender is only actually by the grace of God. As each one surrenders and you come back to rest in God, to rest in this present moment, you are taken by this presence. You are in divine communion. It's a feeling of absorption. It's a beautiful feeling. And it is with this feeling that we are all connected in this space. And it is from this space that these words seem to be coming out. But ultimately, in the very pure space of this moment, there is only silence. The words seem to be a tool to draw people into that space. Temporary scaffolding to draw people into that space of silence. However, in the very purity of the heart, in this deep communion with God, there are no words. There's only the deepest silence. But it isn't a kind of emptiness and a void as the ego would have you believe. The ego has the mind fooled, as you might hear different ones say, I tried meditating, but I can't sit still, or it just feels like a void, and it just feels like a waste of time. This is all a trick by the ego to fool you into not going within. Going within is the last place the ego wants you to go. It has you fooled, always looking outside. As you keep coming back into this still, silent presence within you and into communion, deep communion with God, that is who you really are, your true self. This is a place where everything is perfect exactly as it is. It is a state of mind. In your mind, deep within your mind, there is a place that is completely content and happy and peaceful exactly the way it is. And when you reach this place in your own awareness, in your own experience, there is no need for anything. You don't have any needs at this level. There are no desires at this level. There is no motivation at this level. There's no ambition at this level. So, this talk today is about this idea of acceptance, contentment, and absolute peace. It's not just an idea, it's an experience. It's your experience of this. As you go deeper into meditation, you realize that there is nothing that you need to do or change in this world. It may be that your motivation for things in the past starts to melt away. Your ambition that you used to have starts to melt away. Perhaps in the past you had ambitions or aspirations to climb the corporate ladder, to gain different titles and positions, to gain a reputation, to gain something valuable. And all these motivations actually come from a state of lack, of dissatisfaction with the present moment. The mind always seeks in the future. The ambitious mind seeks in the future. In the future, I will be better. So I have goals. I aspire to certain things. This mind that is constantly dissatisfied desires to be better, desires to be in a better place. And of course, it's important at the so-called human level to have basic needs met so that you can actually have the space and the time to sit in silence. That's also an illusion, but still. As long as you believe that you are in this dream, you seem to have basic needs of food, water, clothing, shelter, and so on. When those things are met, the mind seeks higher things. It seeks the truth of spirit, who you really are. You're not a human being. And when you do come into that deep communion with God, you notice, you become aware that those old motivations and aspirations and goals that you had, why did you want a bigger car, a fancier house, more money? What was behind those desires? Perhaps it was a feeling of needing to prove oneself to someone who made a comment that suggested you were not enough. Perhaps it's to gain validation from a family member. Again, to earn your worth, to earn love, to earn acceptance. And this is a big driver of motivation, of goals, of competition. These are all egoic states of mind because it comes from a state of lack, of a state of not having, of a state of I am not enough in this moment, so I need to become better by acquiring something for myself and add that to my self concept. And sometime in the future, I will finally be enough. As you keep letting go of thoughts in the mind, coming into the present moment, feeling that sense of contentment deep within, you start noticing that motivation, where it was coming from. You start to have a higher bird's eye view of all the different aspirations you used to have. Why is it that I feel the need to socialize? Almost a compulsive need to socialize. Where is that coming from? Is there a need to socialize? People say that humans are social creatures, so we need and crave social interaction. Anything, any need, any craving comes from the ego. It comes from a survival state of being. And this is not your true state. If you believe you are a human being, then you have all these needs. But if you are spirit, if you are God itself, then you don't have any of those needs. The ego has programmed the mind to believe that it is a human being that has needs for socialization, that one must have company around. And without company of people around, the ego tells you that you are lonely and that you are less worthy than others who are surrounded by people. The truth is, socializing is optional. It's not a need. And once you sit within yourself, once you sit and rest in God, you will realize this. That there is nothing in this world that you really need. That everything in this world is temporary, an illusion. And you can enjoy everything that you perceive as it comes up, as it stays in your experience, but you don't need it to be there. It's more like a nice to have, it's optional. And when you are less needy, you live life in a very different way. If someone comes into your life, a wonderful person, if you think that you need that person, then you will start clinging to them and you will be blinded to your true reality that is free of all attachments, all dependencies. You will attach yourself to this person if you believe that you need them, and you may put up with a lot of dysfunctional behavior from perhaps a relationship that is not needed. You don't need anything. You don't need to socialize. You don't need friendships. You don't need a relationship, a partnership. You don't even need family. All of these things are actually optional. And this is rather disturbing to the ego mind to hear, because you have been programmed by its value system that says that all of these things are a kind of virtue to aspire to. And one needs these things as a matter of survival. But a needy state of mind is an agitated state of mind, and it is not properly functioning. It chases after one or the other. It's never content. It stays with dysfunctional behavior patterns or mind patterns out of the belief that it needs things, so it cannot let them go. When you believe that you need anything, you become attached to it, and you have trouble surrendering it to God. In the divine orchestration that is leading us home, leading us to wake up from this dream, everything that comes your way in this dream, in your perception, is to make you more conscious, to make you aware, to wake you up. And everything in this dream is temporary. So whether it is one day, a few hours, a few minutes, or many months, or many years, or many decades, ultimately, the forms are temporary. And they are given you according to the divine curriculum to teach you how to let go. And when you let go, the paradox here is you are able to enjoy that more, that experience, that situation, that person, whatever it is. When you are not clinging to it, you can actually be present. Come into the present moment, come into that communion with God where everything is okay, everything is peaceful, you have acceptance of everything. You come into that space and you don't need anything. You don't need that person, place, or thing to stay any longer than the divine orchestration has allowed it to be there for. So even if it is just a few hours in your whole life, it has taught you exactly what you need to learn. Just like the seasons of the year, if you cling to summer as it's transitioning already to fall, then you will suffer. But if you embrace the new as it comes in, then you will enjoy every moment. You will enjoy every season as it comes. You won't be attached to the old. You will realize that each object of perception is coming in to teach you, to teach the mind something, to teach the mind to wake up, to let go of past patterns of the mind, past egoic programming. You may also find yourself releasing that motivation of the need to change the world. That's also an attachment that comes from the idea that there is a kind of utopian world that you need to bring about. But this utopia, this desire that's within you, that will actually manifest when you let go of it. Because the divine knows all of the desires, the true desires of your heart. There are many programmed false desires by the ego, as I mentioned, the things that it says that it needs. But God knows your true desires. Your true desires are God itself, are in God itself. And as you rest in God, they start to come into your experience. Infinite peace, love, happiness. Can this world ever give you that? You might think that you want certain things, that you are motivated by certain things. But God knows the deepest desires of your heart. And if He were to give you those false desires, then you would miss the true desires. Seek first the kingdom of heaven, and everything will be added unto you. Even those things that you thought that you needed might come your way when you seek only God. As you keep letting go of your desires. And this is the secret and paradox of manifestation. People study manifestation and try to practice it, but ultimately, the only practice of manifestation is to come into communion with God. Seek first the kingdom of heaven. And all the desires that are deep within your mind will come to you. You don't have to go out there and work for it. You don't have to grind. You don't have to be so motivated to do everything on your own, to make things happen on your own. That is a surefire way for burnout and dissatisfaction and resentment towards the world, because things weren't happening according to your timetable. But when you just rest in God and surrender everything to God, you're good with everything. You are in a deep state of acceptance. Even with a very imperfect world, you have reached a state within yourself, within your own mind, that is perfectly content and at peace. And when you reach this place in your own mind, then you notice that the outer world starts changing and transforming to accommodate your state of mind. You might see miracles and changes and transformations around you without you even doing anything. You thought that you needed to do things in the world. But actually, if you simply become still, be still and know that I am God. When you come into that stillness, you realize that it was that state of mind that you were looking for And you thought that by changing the world, you would experience that state of mind. But actually, it's backwards. The mirror of the world is simply showing you your own state of mind. If your mind is in a state of dissatisfaction and always wanting and needing something, then you will see a world that is always needing improvement. But if you come into that space within yourself that is truly satisfied, that is truly at peace and happy and content, and in a state of love, divine love for all, for all beings, there's a sense of compassion within you that starts to spring forth. The world changes automatically because it is nothing but a reflection of your own mind. You don't need to change this world at all. And that is precisely why your motivation that you used to have, your ambition that you used to have, which you thought by achieving those things that you would acquire that state of mind, all of that starts to dissolve and melt away because you are acquiring that wisdom that what you are truly seeking is that state of mind. Seek first that state of mind, which is the kingdom of heaven. First, seek that state of mind, and then everything in the world will change accordingly, will manifest accordingly, all according to your desires. Everything will be added unto you without you needing to lift a finger. You may be guided to perform certain actions, but you won't be motivated to do anything. And this can be a bit unsettling for the mind. It may question, why is it that I've lost my motivation that I used to have? I don't feel like doing anything. It may start to doubt the path, thinking that it's not bringing the so-called results of the world. The world teaches us that it is a virtue to have ambition, motivation, and to grind, to work hard. But you don't need any of those things. It is all optional and only as guided by spirit. When you are guided to go to a certain place, you go, but you don't have any agitation about it. You don't have any motivation or agenda around it. You simply go with no attachment to the outcome. It's a bit like a scavenger hunt. You are enjoying the process and seeing what comes out of it, what God wants to show you. When you seek first that state of mind within you, the world changes accordingly. The world is a mirror reflection of your own mind. While you wanted world peace, what is world peace? World peace is a reflection of your inner peace. So, where does that peace need to start? It must start from within you. World peace is nothing but the inner infinite peace of God. So you don't need to work out there in the world for world peace. You only need to go within. And there's no work that needs to be done when you go within. That's why it is suggested to not use any techniques. Because that is, again, trying to make something happen, trying to perfect a technique, trying to prove yourself, trying to become better, trying to improve your concentration. Many so called meditation techniques are, in fact, only concentration techniques. They are not actually meditation. Meditation means to abide in God, to rest in God. And when you rest in God, there's no technique. So let go of all of it. Be still. There may be people around you, family members, friends, other relationships, acquaintances, people that tell you that you are lacking motivation, that you need to get up and do something. As you go deeper into meditation, you realize that all of that is simply ego programming that is trying to steer you away from communion with God. As you start to realize that you are not a dream character, you are not a human, then your mind becomes fixed on its true reality. It becomes aligned with its true desire to wake up. And those desires have nothing to do with the desires of this world. The desires of characters in the dream are simply based on the lost, blind aspirations of the ego. And the ego only wants to perpetuate itself within a dream world. It only wants to forget itself. It only wants to forget the mind's true reality. The ego is all about forgetting the truth. But the mind that goes within and communes with God is now on a path of remembering. Remember who you are. This is said in the Lion King movie. And the world seems to reflect messages from Spirit, messages from God telling us to come back home. Remember who you really are. And when the mind becomes fixated on this goal, not something to achieve out in the future, but in this moment to remember, then it loses interest in the things of the world, in the goals of the world. Men and women seem to be in competition with each other, but also within their own gender or side where they're competing for potential mates and so on. All of this reflects the aspirations of the ego, which you can see in the animal kingdom. Competition, rivalry, sibling rivalry, need for parental attention, fighting over scarce resources, cannibalism, a predatory behavior, manipulation, trickery, all of these things you will see in the animal kingdom because it is simply a reflection of the ego thought system. The animals that you see out in the world are none other than the animal nature within your own mind, what they call the lower nature, or that which is associated with the lower three chakras or energy centers in the mind. Actually, it says it's in the body, but everything that you perceive is in the mind. As you commune with God, you let go, you lose interest of those animalistic ways of being. The survival mode of the animal kingdom, you start letting that go. And when you let go of survival mode, you may notice that you are no longer interested in that corporate job or any job where you were simply doing something that was not bringing you joy, that was not in your interest, simply for the sake of survival, for a paycheck to put food on the table. You will lose interest in such things, and you may be given the courage from within to let that kind of life go. It is all a kind of shedding of survival mode of the animal kingdom. You are letting all of that go, the need for things, and instead, everything in the dream becomes optional. And when it becomes optional, you simply enjoy it for what it is, and you let it go when it leaves the scene. You don't cling to it, you don't attach to it. In fact, you have more mental resources to help others. Not because you think that you are doing something, you think that you are changing the world or helping the world by doing so, but simply out of the compassion that arises within your heart, you may be moved to do certain things. And all of those things are optional in the sense that you don't need to do them. They simply arise and you watch your body go through certain actions. There is no motivation there. There is no type A personality trying to prove itself. You don't need to change this world. You simply need to go within and seek first the kingdom of heaven within you. And then you will see the kingdom of heaven outside, seemingly outside you. There is no inside and outside because that is actually the belief in duality, the perception of duality. But for the sake of language, which is also an expression in duality, it is said Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. On earth being the outside, as it is in heaven being inside. Heaven is not out there, heaven is within you. You are manifesting by going inward deeply and connecting with heaven. You are manifesting heaven on earth or in your perception. And as it keeps coming into your perception, as you see heaven all around you, there is nothing to change. Everything changes by itself. It is all a divine orchestration as you keep communion with God. There is nothing you need to do. Simply be still. All of this is inevitable. It is inevitable on the spiritual path. Because God, your true self, is asking you to come home. And even that is not quite true, in the sense that if God is asking you to come home, that means he needs something or desires something. God has no desires. But while you seem to be separated, in this separated state where there is an earth and heaven, a kind of duality within you, within your mind, it seems to be that God is calling you home. Now, once you are aware of home, you see that you never left. There never was an earth, there never was any world outside of you in perception. There was only home. There is only home. In fact, you have never left home. You are still in heaven. Your awareness must be aligned with that truth. Realize that you are already in heaven. Become aware of the truth. That's all you need. Why change the world when there is no world? It's simply a dream. As you become aware of heaven, everything changes automatically because your mind is becoming like the pure land of heaven. You are becoming aware of its true reality, and the world changes by itself. It reflects all of that awareness. There's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you need to manifest. Manifestation happens all by itself. And your ultimate desire in manifestation is not $1 million. It's not a fancy car. It's not fancy house and all these things. Your ultimate desire for manifestation is heaven. And when you are in heaven, you don't need anything. You don't need a world. You never needed anything in God. You only believed that you left home, as the prodigal son story says. You believed that you left home and that you squandered your father's wealth and that you became desolate and desperate in a world that gave you nothing. It only took from you. It took your attention and your awareness, made you desire things that were not your true desire. So then your father seemed to call you back home. Your father is your true self. You and your father are one. And when your true self was calling you back home, you went on a journey, seemingly encountering many difficulties and challenges along the way. But each time, sitting in communion with God, making the time for that. And as you did so, everything always worked out because your true self, God, the Father, is looking after you. Is protecting you. And as you come home to the Father, you realize you never left. And that was only all a nightmare that you have now woken up from, just as you do with a dream. Just as Alice in Wonderland was running away from all these dangerous and mad characters, as she ran and ran away, she became lucid in her own mind and realized that she was just dreaming, this dream of time where she chased the white rabbit down into its burrow, the fall, the fall from heaven that she experienced into this nightmare of a dream, a nightmare of a world where she found herself amongst all these mad characters, and insanity was the rule and the way of that world. It was a hostile world to her, and she only met with suffering wherever she went. But she had desired it initially, seemingly. And paradoxically, how can one have any desires in God? The paradox here is this world never existed. Though it seems that you desired this world into existence, this dream, just as Alice in Wonderland, there are no desires in God, so there was no desire even for this world. There never was any world. And while you still believe yourself to be a human walking around in this dream world, your only duty, your only task is to connect with that higher self, that true self in God. You don't need to make anything happen in this dream world. No more than Alice needed to make anything happen in her dream world or nightmare. She tried many things. She tried to work for the Queen of Hearts. And though she was named the Queen of Hearts, she was quite a tyrant. It was a world devoid of any love or happiness or peace. Why would any sane mind want to stay in such a world? And as her desire to go back home increased, it seemed that the world's insanity seemed to increase because the ego only looks for its own survival and seems to have many traps in the way, but it is only using the power of your own mind, the power of your awareness and attention, and you can withdraw that power anytime. As you keep sitting in silence and letting your thoughts and feelings and sensations pass through you, surrendering them each time, you are letting all of it go. You're letting all of your aspirations go, your motivations, your ambitions. You are no longer an ambitious person. You are no longer a person. There is only awakening taking place. And it is not even just happening for a person, it is happening throughout the mind. And that's why you will see world peace. You will see the kingdom of heaven on earth. Because the awakening is happening throughout time, throughout the cosmos. That is what is called the second coming of Christ. It is not about a man, a person coming back to the earth. It is permeating every aspect of this dream. The light of God is dissolving this dream. That is the second coming of Christ. It is permeating through you, through your seeming human self, as we realize that we are all one. That there is only God and there is nothing else in reality. There is no dream. There is no world. God did not create any world. Especially any world that is defined by suffering and death and temporary, illusory states of mind, that is characterized by sadness, fleeting happiness, and always a search for happiness. God does not create such a world. In God, there is only God and nothing else. There is only infinite love and peace and happiness and nothing else. Nothing is needed in God and nothing is needed in you. Because God is the truth of who you are and you are the kingdom of heaven. Seek that within you and you will find it. Seek and you will find. Knock on the door and you will find. The door will be opened for you. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. May the will of heaven be done. May the will of God be manifested in you. May you find the ultimate peace within your own mind. And may we all experience this awakening as it is happening. May you be at peace. May you be happy. And may you be liberated from all suffering. Thank you for listening.